6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Dulvin Samarasinghe and read by Ramesh Piris. First, the headlines. The Prime Minister says the support of everyone is needed for the government's program implemented amid the crisis. The need for a national security policy has been emphasized. The government says it is standing by the right of the people to live without fear or suspicion. The CID records a statement from former President Maithripala Sirisena. The Child Protection Authority requests to provide them with information about online child abusers. In news overseas, Russia rejects call to demilitarize Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant area. In sports, it's rugby. The Bradby Shield returns as traditional rivals Royal and Trinity College resume their rivalry. Now the local news in detail. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says the support of state, private sectors and people is needed for the program implemented by the government amid the economic crisis. He said the country is facing the most serious economic crisis in the recent history. He pointed out that people have received relief to some extent due to the measures taken by the government to solve dollar and energy sector issues. The Prime Minister mentioned this during a meeting with provincial governors at the Prime Minister's office. He requested them to limit expenditure of the provincial councils. Meanwhile, a meeting between the Prime Minister and the Iranian Ambassador Hashem Assadjadar took place today. The Ambassador agreed to a proposal by the Prime Minister to increase investments in the energy sector. Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that the government will support the right of unarmed people to live without fear and suspicion and for their livelihoods. He said no one should be harassed based on their political views and religion. He pointed out that the Constitution has guaranteed human rights of all citizens. He mentioned this during a conference on national security, law and media reporting at the Government Information Department today. Speaking on the occasion, Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne said national security is an essential factor for a country to move forward. He said the war, which lasted for nearly 3 decades, was won due to the trust, support and friendship security forces had on journalists and reporting on war. Attending the conference, Dean of Sri Pali campus, Attorney at Law Pratibha Mahanamaheva, said that a country should have security policy which should not change irrespective of who comes into power. He said personal freedom should not be a problem to national security. He further said members of the armed forces should be developed into a national security professionals. Government Information Department Director General Mohan Samaranaika said the country is in a decisive moment on national security. He pointed out that the responsibility of media is to report information to people without damaging national security. The Criminal Investigation Department has recorded a statement from former President Maithripala Sirisena in connection with granting a presidential pardon to Royal Park murderer convict Shramanta Jayamaha. The CID team had visited the former president's residence to record the statement. The recorded statement had been forwarded to the Attorney General. Shramanta Jayamaha was sentenced to death for the murder of Yvonne Johnson at the Royal Park Condominium Complex Rajagiriya in 2005. Former President Maithripala Sirisena granted him a presidential pardon in 2016. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. National Child Protection Authority has requested to provide them with details about persons who abuse children online. Such information can be given over the hotline 1929 of the authority. Chairman of the authority, Udaya Kumar Amarasinghe, said that the hotline is open on all 24 hours of the day. He emphasized the need to prevent such activities and requested the parents to be on alert when their children are using the internet. UN Development Coordination Office Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific, David McLachlan-Carr, said the UN is highly impressed with Sri Lanka's commitment to work in close cooperation for the development of the country. During his meeting with Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo, he assured that the UNDCO would extend every possible assistance to Sri Lanka's development programs related to sustainable development goals, green economy, social cohesion and social protection. Prime Minister Gunawardena thanked the support extended to Sri Lanka and welcomed the signing of the agreement to launch the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which will guide the work of all the UN agencies in Sri Lanka and articulates the collective vision and contribution of the United Nations to support Sri Lanka to accelerate actions towards the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Prime Minister stressed the need for accelerated actions to ensure a rapid recovery from the economic crisis along with the impact of COVID-19. A decision has been taken to give lands belonging to the Urban Development Authority and Housing Development Authority for private investments. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said it would bring revenue to the government. He said those lands would be given on rent basis. He said investigations are being conducted to acquire lands of the authority that have been taken for development activities without an approval. A foot patrol conducted by the Navy in the beach area of Sukadi, Magal in Jaffna led to the seizure of over 93 kilograms of Kerala cannabis this morning. The seizure was made by SLNS Agbo of the Northern Naval Command. The street value of seized consignment of Kerala cannabis is believed to be over 27 million rupees. And that ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And moving on to the main news story. The central bank expects monetary financing, which is known as money printing, to reduce significantly in the period ahead as a result of fiscal consolidation measures alongside with the planned reforms in state-owned enterprises. As of Wednesday, central banks' holdings of government securities only increased by 2.57 billion rupees when compared to a record 150 billion rupees in July. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
In Watch Life this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board says a 10-hour water cut will be in place in several areas in Colombo from 11 p.m. tomorrow to 9 a.m. on Sunday due to essential improvement work. The Water Board said water supply to Colombo 5 and 6 will be interrupted while water supply will be at low pressure in Colombo 4. It advises consumers to fill sufficient water ahead and expresses regret for the inconvenience caused. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news is coming up.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
In world news, first the headlines. Russia rejects call to demilitarize Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant area. Russia and Chinese president are confirmed to attend G20 summit. North Korea slams South Korea's offer of aid for denuclearization. Now the world news in detail. Russia has rejected appeals for a complete demilitarization of the area around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in southern Ukraine. Russian officials said the move would make the plant more vulnerable. The calls come amid growing concerns over safety at the site, Europe's largest nuclear plant, as both sides accuse each other of shelling the area. Ukrainian workers operate the plant, which has been under Russian control since March. Indonesian President Joko Widodo says China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin both plan to attend the Group of 20 summit in Bali in November. This is the first confirmation that both leaders will attend the summit. It will be the first global summit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the heightened tensions over Taiwan. It would also be the first time Mr. Xi has left China since January 2020, when the country shut its borders at the start of the COVID pandemic. Kim Yo-jong, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's powerful sister, has slammed Seoul's offer of economic aid in return for denuclearization steps, calling it the height of absurdity. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol had Wednesday reiterated the plan, which he first mentioned in May. But Ms. Kim said today that Mr. Yoon should shut his mouth and call him simple and still childish. Back to the headlines of the world news. Russia rejects call to demilitarize Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant area. Russian and Chinese presidents are confirmed to attend G20 summit, and North Korea slams South Korea's offer of aid for denuclearization. That concludes world news. Moving on to development news, Hyundai Motors had entered into an agreement with Sri Lanka's Abans Auto, authorizing the reputed local automotive retailer to assemble and manufacture Hyundai automobiles and components under license in Sri Lanka. The proposed assembly plant for Sri Lanka has been designed by Hyundai and incorporates the latest technologies, tools and equipment that conforms to Industry 4 standards. Abans' partnership with Hyundai is set up a complete knockdown vehicle assembly plant that would utilize locally manufactured components developed and manufactured to Hyundai's stringent quality standards. And that was development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports, it's rugby. The Bradby Shield will return after a lapse of 2 years as the traditional rivals Royal College and Trinity College resume their rivalry, with the first leg of the 76th encounter scheduled for tomorrow at the Royal Sports Complex in Reid Avenue. The stage is set for another blockbuster clash following the exciting game in the Inter-Schools A Division League tournament last month. Trinity will have a slender psychological advantage going into its important clash after having won the league tournament fixture by a solitary point at the same venue. Even then, the history is in favour of Royal as they are chasing an elusive fourth successive Bradby Shield success, having emerged victorious in 2017, 2018 and 2019 respectively. And that was sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, the Commercial Bank of Ceylon has scaled new heights in digital innovation, becoming the first bank in Sri Lanka to take banking to the realm of wearable technology. The bank's and the country's first wearable banking product was achieved with the integration of access to the select features of the bank's flash digital account with Apple Watch in collaboration with Digital Payment Services Private Limited. And that came to you in business news.
Business news sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In economic news, Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe says inflation will not likely to reach 70% contrary to previous projections made by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. He said according to the latest projections by the Central Bank, inflation is likely to peak in the month of September and subsequently it will be trending down. Dr. Veerasinghe said electricity price revision will reflect inflation projections in short term. And that was economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
And finally, moving on to the weather report. The Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the over and eastern provinces during the evening or night. And that was the weather report. And to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The Prime Minister says the support of everyone is needed for the government's program implemented amid the crisis. The need for a national security policy has been emphasized. The government says it is standing by the right of the people to live without fear or suspicion. The CID records a statement from former President Maithripala Sirisena. The Child Protection Authority requests to provide them with information about online child abusers. In news overseas, Russia rejects call to demilitarize Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant area. And in sports, it's rugby, the Bradby Shield returns as traditional rivals Royal and Trinity Colleges resume their rivalry. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.